Carlos and Scott here at Ultimate Fitness Training, Jet Fitness, and today we're doing a video about Q&A in order to help you guys and us become our greatest versions. So I'm sure Scott's got a lot of questions for me. Hopefully I'll have a couple of questions for Scott as well. He wasn't ready for this one, but I'll have a couple of questions for him as well. And just see how we can basically help you and us become our best. Cool.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for having me as well. So, I mean, the first initial question was, I train with someone and we're both bodybuilding focused, so that's the overall goal of what we're trying to achieve. However, when we do different types of training, for instance compound versus isolation, I find he could be a lot stronger on deadlift, for instance, and kind of wipe the floor with me and do like 20 kilos more. But if it comes to lat pull down or like good morning exercises for lower back, or it would be T-bar row for the rhomboids, I will excel him by 10 kilo on each. I'm just wondering what's your take on that and why that might be.
Yeah, obviously, as you guys know, in terms of building a physique, it's not just about the way you're training. There's a lot to do with obviously your genetics, and secondarily is really very much so what you've done in the past. So this guy that is actually mentioned, I actually know him myself. So from a point of view of leverages, imagine obviously our bones and our muscle structure. Say for instance, someone that's got very short sort of physique in terms of lengthwise, someone's quite short, is gonna therefore straight away overpowering you based on obviously in terms of short sort of leverage. So he's gonna overpower you on the squats, he's probably gonna overpower you on a deadlift as well. Probably things like bicep curls, French presses, because it's very short levers. The insertion of the tendon is very short, so therefore the limb doesn't have to move great distances. So it's going to be a lot more, if you like, a lot more tendency to obviously lift a lot more weight. Like as James just said, like lat pull down, because obviously when the lat pull down on that particular muscle, you may develop that muscle yourself anyway. So what you probably find is on the lat pull down, you'll predominantly always have one or two exercises that will be obviously stronger on. Obviously very rarely you're going to find someone that's strong on all of them or weak on all of them. There'll be one or two. On that particular one, maybe he's probably never really worked on that much. Whereas it's probably his deadlift, because he's a shorter person, shorter levers, he's going to be able to obviously propel a lot more explosivity. So he's going to be able to lift a lot more weight. The reason for that really is very much so, obviously your muscle fibers, your white fibers, which are very explosive fibers. Secondly is your training, that the training is done in the past. Thirdly, very much so is how he's applied that training in order to become stronger. And fourthly, foremost, is how much he applies that training every single day.
Would you also say, I mean this wasn't a question that I prepared, but as soon as it's actually just come up now, would you also say that genetics is probably, or like maybe like heritage is probably a part of it? So I was looking at a training program once, and it was based on if your great granddad was, I don't know, a cowboy for instance, in America, he used to like pull in like rope and therefore would have a bigger, stronger back.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Well, you know what? I've read all sorts of different things, and I like very much to say, obviously being a sports scientist, I try to stay with science. However, I mean, we look at Vikings, for instance. A lot of people that sort of like come from the Viking sort of era. I mean, you can tell they're very sort of large bone, long limbed, very mesomorphic sort of look. That doesn't mean that they all be stronger than someone that hasn't came from that sort of background, and someone that hasn't come from that background can overcome and become stronger than someone that has. Obviously genetics, don't take me wrong, I mean if you put two people, one with great genetics and one with no good genetics, on the same training plan, I bet you the person with great genetics is going to excel. There's no two ways about it. However, this person has got really bad genetics versus someone that's got good genetics but doesn't train correctly, eats badly, and then doesn't perform exercises in the right manner, then obviously this person's going to win. The person is, I mean, one very famous bodybuilder always says that, you know, Dorian Yates has said that he didn't have the great genetics, and I mean, the guy done amazingly well, one of the very best ever, and obviously apparently he didn't have great genetics according to him. So that kind of like answers the kind of question, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, would you say genetics or not, and this is quite a controversial one, for a natural bodybuilder, would you say there is a cap as to how much? I mean, because for a natural bodybuilder, you should be looking at, would you agree on kind of pound, maybe half a pound a week for an advanced natural bodybuilder. Half a pound a week.
Depends on the variables. It does really depend. I mean, you'll speak to also sort of sports scientists, trainers, bodybuilders, and someone will say double that, some say less than that. It depends on the training depends on how much they eat, depends on their genetics, depends on the variables, depends on how much they apply that diet. Because the thing is, the biggest thing in the industry, which I find a lot of times, so for instance, if you give someone a diet or a training plan, someone may look at it and say, well, okay, I'm going to do it. But when someone is not doing the exercise, is not doing the training, is actually applying that training fully. And same with the diet. A lot of people don't apply the diet fully. They'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and maybe they call it they're doing the diet, but they're actually not doing it. It's how much they very much apply it. And that's one of the things I've learned, with not just with clients, with a lot of being in an industry for so long. You kind of like it sets patterns. You can actually see, people doing something for years and years and years and years and years and years, never getting any results. And someone that does something specific for a while and then changes it, and does something else for a while and changes it, and all of a sudden overcomes. It's like people that do overload training all the time, constantly, high volume, low repetition for years and years and years. Your body can't take it. Your body's going to, one way or another, is going to create injuries, it's going to create inflammation, because you're constantly lifting heavy. You've got to understand the cycles. And a lot of guys still...
Periodization, for instance.
Yes, but again, that's for another video.
Yeah.
Periodized training means a lot of different things. A lot of people, periodized training is dropping from 100k to 97. And then they'll go from 97 to 150 again. That's probably a bit of periodized training. So that's not periodized training at all. Periodized training, very much so, in a very, very simple explanation, is staging. Even periodized training even means the weather. For instance, like people are dieting in winter, is that right or wrong? Okay, if you're competing in winter, you've got to diet anyway. But let's say, for instance, if you're going to compete in July, being 10% body fat in December, is that realistic? Are you really going to maintain that 10% for 7-8 months? Not really realistic. So compounding, having loads of weight training, very heavy, in December weighing 10% body fat, is that realistic? No, it's not. So periodized training sometimes can actually be bad if you're doing it at the wrong time based on your wrong goals. So it's diet, exactly. So it can be very, very, very kind of like misconstructed, because I've heard people doing periodized training that doesn't really appeal to their goals as well. I mean, I'm massive on functional training, as you guys know. All of weight training and a lot of different methods of training. And then you see guys, for instance, coming out of bodybuilding, and then all of a sudden start doing CrossFit, and they start getting injured. Of course they will get injured, because their body will literally train maybe for 10, 15 years on bodybuilding straight lines, and all of a sudden they're coming out different directions and reps and reps and reps. The body's not used to it.
No.
So, but anyway, I'm going off the tangent.
Yeah, so, I mean something that actually kind of flashed up in my head then when you actually were talking about that periodization kind of type of things is scheduled weeks off. Now, again, probably a controversial one, because a lot of people have like a bit of niche that needs scratching in the gym, and then a lot of people will say, no, a scheduled week is vital to your success, because you can't always work at a ceiling. If you work there, you need to eventually break through that ceiling.
To a degree, I always say this, in terms of weeks off, it depends what you mean by weeks off.
Like an entire 7-day week, still eating.
It depends on the goal. It does depend. I give you an example from a psychological point of view, and obviously probably a lot of women will sympathise with me saying this. Obviously, there is a time of the month a lot of ladies, for instance, do not want to train. They want to eat a lot of. Some people sugary food, some people high condimented food, some people high carbs, some people savoury food, some people probably everything else I've just mentioned, and more. So obviously they don't want to train, but what's going to happen with the experience I have training people, and I mentioned earlier about the patterns, once they miss that week, sometimes it can turn into a week and a half to 2 weeks, and once they miss those 2 weeks, guess what happens? They're restarting again, in their minds. Knowing their physiques, perhaps they probably haven't really put it that much weight on, but remember, someone that probably wants to lose, I don't know, a stone or a stone and a half, and if they pull 5 or 6 pounds on, that can be very, very
a lot of steps.
yeah. So that sometimes, I agree, if you've worked very hard, say you went for the competition and you've worked very hard and all of a sudden you want to have a week off, obviously, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just to kind of like give your body a bit of rest. Yes, it depends where. It depends really what your goal are, what your goal is, and where you are in your sort of fitness sort of element of career.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And a final one, just a personal one, which is probably a little bit out there. But let's say you're going on a night out, and you hear a lot of people go, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to smash a gym for a quick night out, get a pump." One, how long does the pump last? 2, is there any way to make it better or longer?
That's a funny one, though.
Excuse the pun. And 3, is there any like supplements or anything that you can make it just?
Yes, I mean, obviously pump, everyone knows what pump is. Basically muscle fibrils. Obviously, so you've got a lot of muscle fibers between fast twitch, intermediate twitch, and fast twitch muscle fibers. Then you've got your myofibril in the actual muscle cell, which is, imagine like, I don't want to really boring more technical words, but really very simple is cables. Imagine like electrical cables in between. So when that muscle becomes irrigated with obviously plasma, obviously blood, what you find is that the muscle cell dilates. So when it dilates, what it does is it enlarges the circumference of your muscle itself. So if you measure my arms and they're like 10 inches or 15 inches or 20 inches, whatever they are, I bet you within a pump you're probably going to get 1 or 2 inches. Some people more, depending on how big they are, and also depends on the diet that you want. Say, for instance, let's say if you are a very like sort of ectomorphic mesomorph person, and all of a sudden you consume a greater amount of carbohydrates, because what a carbohydrate does, it really irrigates the muscle with water. So obviously then you're going to be pumped of glycogen. So there's going to be a larger sort of area that your body is going to sort of occupy. So let's say if you are a short sleeve, you'll feel your body being pumped. Now, a lot of people do that. Most of the times, believe it or not, and I think the way the training is developing now, because there's so many like freak people out there, which I find from my experience, a lot of women actually don't like that kind of look of, I'm talking about from a man's point of view. A lot of women don't really like that kind of veiny, don't take it from that, I'm sure there's people that love that. Yeah, what I'm saying is, a lot of women do not like these freaks, like loads of veins popping out there. They don't like it. There might be some women that like it, and I'm not saying
that like it.
There's blokes that like it, yeah.
You're in a club, blokes,
yes.
That go, oh, wow,
yeah, blokes, yeah. So if that's your thing. But what I'm saying is basically a lot of people like it. I mean, I'm not saying that I like it or dislike it, I'm just saying what people say. So that will last. How long that will last? I mean, you go and try to have a workout, for instance, say at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, before you go out. I mean, you know, your pump will stay there for half an hour. If you have a meal that's full of like say pasta, for instance, or brown rice, sweet potatoes, full of high condimented carbs, you put that pump, not that particular pump that you just had in the gym, but you're full swollen probably 3 or 4 hours later. Okay. Now, some of you guys out there that probably take another substances, you might be pumped out for another 24 days, let alone in 24 hours. But what I'm saying is, that may last a lot. Now, a lot of it as well, I think a lot of it is in your head as well. Because once you get pumped, you feel confident, once someone says, oh, you look good, man, all of a sudden,
you feel bigger.
Yes, and all these endorphins come out and you start feeling good, serotonin starts going around your brain, you feel happy, and you know what? That's a massive boost. Yeah. And that does do a lot to one's physique, to one's mind, and ultimately it makes you feel good. It's good. Now, just say a little bit about that. I mean, obviously I've been in the game for a long, long time, and I've seen years of training, and it kind of changed a little bit. I mean, I remember like years ago, people like kind of like wanted to look like beefy, bodybuilder look-alike, and that was a massive sort of like. Yeah, it was. It still is. But I think more now. I think more than ever. And I'm not here to say I prefer that way. I'm just saying it. I think it's a really good way of doing the aesthetic. A lot of people are becoming more aesthetic, pleasing. So sometimes you see someone like, for instance, in a t-shirt, and you don't even know if they've got a physique, and all of a sudden take it off, and you go, wow. Yeah. And that's that kind of like a lot of. I see a lot of people like that, by the way, because I think the other part of being massive. A lot of times I've seen guys that are absolutely massive at the top. and the 22 stone to take it off was absolutely
20% body fat. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that kind of like, but again, each to their own. A lot of people like different things, but I think ultimately it's actually doing the things you really want to do. One of the things I think is really important as well is actually doing something that you actually enjoy to do, and doing something that makes you healthy and makes you a stronger version of yourself. There's no point you looking amazing and then 5-10 years down the line you can't train because you've got arthritis in your knees, you've had 2 knee replacements, hip replacements. I think a lot of it you've got to make sure you become, as I always say, become a fitter, healthier, happier version of yourself rather than a weaker, less version of yourself. So I think fitness can... Yeah, so I've got some questions for Scott now. So Scott, how do you see the fitness industry kind of evoluting in the next, say, from now to say 5 years?
I mean, it's already changed on a massive scale already.
Yep.
So we were saying a bit earlier on in the video that it was this huge kind of bulked up, people taking substances. That was a massive corner of the market that was really kind of overtaken, and people were more intimidated by gyms because of this. I think it's developing a lot now. It's a lot more mainstream. You switch on the TV, people are, they've got these good shapes, they're in good shape, they're kind of mentally and financially stable. They're the people that are in the limelight that are really, people are idolising and wanting to be now.
True.
I mean, if you're into fitness or you know anyone in fitness, these people are influencers as well. They're not just, let's say I've got a hobby down the road and I like to do this thing every night and I just do that and that's separate. That's not fitness. If you're into fitness or know someone in fitness or you work around fitness, you're talking about it all day. You say, oh, I went to the gym, I did this, oh, I've bought this, oh, I'm taking this new supplement. It's, these people are influencers and that's what's catching. And the future is going to be huge. I mean, the industry itself right now is worth 4.7 billion.
Yeah, it's big.
It's only going more mainstream and more up.
What does inspire you what does inspire you in fitness? What is it? What's the inspirational in fitness? Is it training? Is it being around those successful people? What is it?
I think it changes constantly. Originally it was just the image, just the look. Which is why everyone starts out in the gym originally, isn't it? So like I just wanted to be that healthier, better version of myself on a physical basis only. And as time's gone on, it then went on to the experience. So I just got on stage and did a fitness model competition.
Brilliant.
Unreal experience. And I'm sure you'd say this as well. In terms of getting on stage, something that I definitely recommend every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hard to get there.
Yeah. It's a learning curve. And no time's the same either. It's definitely for sure. It's a really good experience. So you would just say it's more like, so you got into fitness because you wanted to obviously be better, stronger version of yourself.
But then as time progresses, I think that changes as well. So you realise when I got on stage and following getting in shape, you go, oh, I actually feel better in myself. I've got more energy, I'm more confident. It's as you say, you become that better version.
It sounds very quirky, but it's absolutely the one. I mean, one of the biggest things that I say, and I'll finish the video on this one, is when we say, I mean, you guys hear me saying become your greatest version, I didn't want to come up with this sort of slogan because I thought it's quirky but what I mean by that is, and you probably hear this, like for instance, as Scott just said, obviously train to become, obviously to look better, to become a little bit more muscular, to become more confident, and all of a sudden he felt better. Okay, he actually said that himself, okay? I'll give you an example. Like you've got someone that comes in, like maybe I've got my eldest client is 83 years of age. Now, is it realistic for me to say to my client, 83 years of age, look, I'm going to pay you to go on stage? No, that's not his goal. His goal is to become fitter, to become a little healthier than the way he actually is. He needs to live longer. And a lot of times we don't realize there's also a lot of people out there that actually do come to the gym not to particularly look better. Obviously, look better is a bonus, but mentally, it's for their minds. There's so many, and this is something that is an epidemic thing, obviously, all around the world, not just in the UK. These people are suffering from depression, anxiety, depression, feeling low about themselves. And I think, obviously, and I can tell you, obviously, not just because I'm a qualified sports scientist, but it's because I've studied very hard about this particular field because I love psychology. And one thing that makes me very sad a lot of times is people with narrow minds that don't realize that a lot of people come to the gym or train not because they're fanatics, not because there's a lot of people, a common thing I remember years ago, people say, do you have a life? You live in a gym, you have a life. I'm thinking, well, I'll have a beautiful life because I love the gym. And I'm inspiring people, that's the life. Now, if that's not your life, I'm not living your life experience, I'm living my life experience. But by the way, that's on another note anyway, but one thing we've got to realize is, when I say become your greatest version, it can be anything. So for Scott, could be to become the most muscular physique he can have, okay? For me, it could be to be lean and inspire clients. For the guy out there, it could be just come to the gym, sweat for 30 minutes, and feel better because he's got a very stressful job.
Yeah, that mental benefit.
Yeah, it's body, mind, and soul.
Yeah.
And a lot of people never get it. They see someone coming in the gym, he doesn't bench 3 plates. What's he doing here? What's he doing here? It's so wrong for us to access that.
Because especially now.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. You'll see people now more than ever stressed, physical, depressed,
mental health effects,
everything. So I really advise for people out there to just start looking outside the boxes a little bit and not just thinking. I know these may seem very ironic when you see probably these posters behind it, the fact that I competed and look at me. Yeah. I don't particularly say, if someone said to me, would you recommend competing? I don't think it's for everybody. I really don't think. Don't take me wrong, it's an amazing experience, as Scott just said, but I don't think everyone
would benefit from it.
Well, I'm not saying you would benefit or not benefit. I think it's a great experience. If it's in your line pathway to do it, do it. But what I'm saying is a lot of people are on a different path. And once we start understanding that, then we become fitter versions and healthier versions. And not ultimately that, we actually start respecting. There's a lot more, because on this industry, there's a lot of skepticism, a lot of judging, because a lot of people think like, for instance, you've got bodybuilders on one side, they'll judge the fitness professionals, like, they'll say, what do they know? They don't know. Because all they've seen is, they'll see these big easers, and a lot of times they look at guys that are probably half of the size, what do they know? They're on a different path. Do you know, they're on a completely different path. And then you've got the guys, for instance, fitness competitors, like fitness models, criticizing bodybuilders or criticizing, bikini models. They're just on a different path. We all on a different, we all can be winners. There's not only one winner, everyone's a winner. You are a winner, I'm a winner, and we can all win in a different way. And I think that's not you, and I'm saying you in particular, I'm more about us, become a little bit more open-minded. You know what, there's space for everyone. Everyone can develop, everyone can do their own thing. It's like the same sports, everyone's got, you can talk like Cristiano Ronaldo, he's in one sport. But when it comes to golf, he's nowhere to be seen. However, some golfers, Tiger Woods, there's obviously a lot more, by the way, that tells me our lack of experience in golf. I can't even comment any of that. I'm absolutely terrible. But I'm saying in terms of sports, everyone's got a different sport. And everyone's a king in some sort of sport or in some sort of modality that you do. So that's very important to kind of understand that. But anyway, that's another video for you guys. We touched on a lot of different things here. It's always good to learn. And sometimes it's questions that you probably would not ask, that kind of questions that I was going to ask, you probably ask. And actually touch on it, it's good for us to kind of sometimes rewind the time and talk about what's going to happen and what happened and what's going to happen. But anyway, with all that said, guys, check us out on Carlos Trainer 10, which is my Instagram, also my YouTube channel, Carlos Trainer, and also Scott's Instagram, of which he's going to repeat now.
Mac Aesthetics.
Check it out. And with all that said, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, stay fit. Have a great day. Take care.
Yeah.